I was 16 when my aunt drove 12 hours from Texas to Iowa just to take me away for what she thought would be a summer vacation. She had no idea she was about to save my life. Growing up with a mother addicted to opiates and a father who enabled her wasn't just difficult. It was a daily fight for survival. My mother had dissociative disorder and narcissism, a combination that turned our house into a war zone where I was the primary target. From as far back as I can remember, my childhood was defined by her drug-fueled rages and my father's complete inability to protect me from them. The beatings came during her highs, when she'd find any excuse to tear me apart physically and emotionally. She knew exactly which buttons to push: my weight, my grades, my friends, my dreams. She'd pick at every insecurity I had, every fear, and weaponize them against me with surgical precision. "You're worthless," she'd scream while throwing whatever was within reach. "Just like your father. You'll never amount to anything." My relationship with my father and siblings was constantly sabotaged by her manipulation. She'd tell my dad I was talking back, lying, stealing, anything to turn him against me. She'd be awake for days at a time during her binges, pacing the house like a caged animal, muttering to herself, then pass out standing up with glassy eyes and a hunched back. When she came to, the destruction would begin again. I learned to read the signs, the dilated pupils, the erratic movements, the way her voice would change pitch. It meant I had maybe 5 minutes to find somewhere to hide before the storm hit. But there was nowhere to go in our small house. I'd leave for school in a clean house, and return to what looked like a tornado had hit. Broken glass everywhere, animal feces tracked through the rooms, dirty clothes thrown from closets, roaches crawling across surfaces like they owned the place, empty pill bottles scattered like confetti, and ground-up pill residue coating everything in a fine white dust. The smell was indescribable, a mixture of decay, chemicals, and despair. On the worst nights, she'd hallucinate and run through glass doors or windows, leaving pools of blood that I'd have to clean up because my father was either too scared or too high himself to deal with it. The silence never lasted long. My parents would scream at each other for days without stopping, their voices hoarse from the constant fighting. The arguments were always the same: money, drugs, blame. They'd barge into my room at 4 a.m, demanding I choose sides in their endless war. "Tell your father what you saw," she'd shriek, even when I hadn't seen anything. "Tell him how he's destroying this family." My father would counter with his own demands, forcing me to validate his version of events. Sleep became impossible. Peace was a foreign concept I'd only heard about in movies. Money was always gone. She sold some pills but used the profits to buy more drugs. We were homeless frequently, lived without power and water for years at a time, and rarely had food. Most nights, my only meal was school lunch. On weekends, I'd go without eating entirely. The rest of my family had no idea what was happening behind our closed doors. My mother was a master manipulator who could put on a performance when needed. Then my aunt reached out during the summer I turned 16, asking if I wanted to visit Texas for a few weeks. I was ecstatic but didn't bother telling my parents. I doubted they'd even notice I was gone. When my aunt arrived, our house happened to be clean for once. My parents stayed locked in their room, too out of it to acknowledge we had a visitor. We left to get food, and when we returned an hour later, the tornado had struck again. Debris everywhere, the familiar chaos I'd learned to navigate without even thinking about it. As my aunt told me later during our drive to Texas, what bothered her most wasn't the destroyed house. It was that I didn't react to it at all. I just tiptoed around the debris and started packing like it was completely normal.